Good morning. Happy New Year. Glad to see everyone back. And today I am going to talk to you about historical fiction. Historical fiction is labeled yellow in our library. And today I'm going to share with you some of my favorites because this just happens to be my very favorite genre in the library. Now, with historical fiction, the historical events in the book are true, but the story is made up. It's fiction. So you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting some nonfiction, and you're also getting a wonderful fictional story. So here's some of my favorites. This is The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. Some of you may have read it in elementary school. It is a great story, but so very sad throughout the whole thing, about a little boy who uh, his father is an officer and he comes to live near a concentration camp, and his father's in charge of the concentration camp, and he wanders off and meets another little boy that's in the concentration camp, and they form a friendship. And it shows the atrocities of the Holocaust and what those officers actually did to the Jewish people. And the ending, heartbreaking, but you must read this if you haven't. Now, that same author also wrote a second book called The Boy at the Top of the Mountain that shows the other side of World War II. And this orphan boy comes to live with his aunt, who just happens to be the housekeeper for none other than Adolf Hitler. Great story. Now, I'm moving on, and this is a favorite of Mr. Townsend's. This is called Nightjohn, and it's about a slave who had escaped, but he comes back after he learns to read, and he teaches this little girl how to read. And the cost of learning to read is being beaten and sometimes killed. It's illegal for slaves to learn to read. I don't know if you knew that. So this great little story, not a very long one, is just so powerfully strong and shows how horrible slavery really was. Next, The Watsons Go to Birmingham. Don't know how many of you have already read it, but if you have not, this is the story of a family that lives in Flint, Michigan, and they are going to take their older brother to Birmingham, Alabama, uh, to live with their grandmother. While they are there, they see just how the South is during the Civil Rights Movement. Very moving story with lots of historical events. This is another World War II story called The War That Saved My Life. It happens to be a Newbery Award honor medal winner. We'll talk about that later. It won a silver award. So anytime you see an award on a book, you know it's going to be a great story. Next is Bud Not Buddy. If you have not read Bud Not Buddy, I encourage you to. A great story of a boy whose mother dies and he goes off looking for his father. He knows that his father supposedly is a wonderful, uh, accomplished jazz musician. So this is his adventure to seek and find his father. Another World War II story, but in a different setting. This is
Mr. Whetstone, can you please?
Sorry for the interruption. This is Between the Shades of Grey. Between the Shades of Grey tells the atrocities of the people that from La, Lactavia, yes, uh, and how Stalin starved his own people and sent them into concentration camps. Anyone that was an intellectual, that means like doctors, lawyers, and military officials, were sent and they were starved in Siberia. A wonderful story of hope and the courage to live. Next is The Lions of Little Rock. Uh, This story is about the Little Rock Nine during the Civil Rights Movement, the first African American children to attend white school, the bravery that they had, and their story. Awesome story of just someone with determination to get an education. Wonderful story. Now, this one was made into a movie. This is called The Book Thief. And The Book Thief is the story of a little girl whose family is hiding a Jewish man in their basement. Her grandparents are. Uh, and books have been burned by the Nazis in the city square. And to have a book, if it was not approved by the Nazis, it's a crime. And she becomes a book thief just to gain knowledge from reading. So I highly recommend this intense story. It's great. And lastly, one of my favorites about the South, about Jim Crow laws. Back in the day, uh, if you were a African American woman, mostly you were called the help. They were usually housekeepers and or they did people's laundry. This story tells about a college girl who comes home from college to be a journalist, and she starts writing self-help in the local newspaper, and she wants to know how the maids truly feel. The stories they tell, she writes a wonderful book and tells everybody's story in this book, and it's all about the ladies in the town. Uh, it's full of gossip. It's very funny. Um, but it also shows the heartache that those women that were maids went through. They couldn't even use the same bathroom at as um, their homes that they were working in, and they helped raise children that were not even their own, plus raising theirs. They were strong African American women, and they finally got their story heard. I highly recommend this one. Was made into a movie, but remember, the book is always better. Have a great day, everyone, and check out these books at our library.